Good evening to anyone who's joining us online. The council was gavelled into our meeting at 6 o'clock for interviews, and we're now continuing our meeting with item 3, which is the Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll ask our clerk, Lee Carney, to lead us in the pledge.
Thank you. Please stand. Flag of the United States of America, republic for which it stands, one nation. All.
Thank you, Lee.
You're welcome.
Joining me on the dais is Council Vice President Michael Donegan. I'm Council President Mark Schwager. We also have Councilors Karen Korenthal and Renu Engelhardt. Council Michael Zarella is absent tonight. Next item is public comment. Do we have anybody online, Lee, available for public comment? In that case, we will close public comment and we will go to acknowledgements. We have a resolution congratulating the 2006 inductees of the East Greenwich High School Wall of Honor. And on the Wall of Honor, we have Catherine Feeney, class of 2000. Catherine has built more than a 20-year career in film and television and has contributed to over 50 productions. We also have Dan Forbes from the class of 1993. Dan Forbes founded Forbes Financial Planning, and he's a member of the East Greenwich Athletic Hall of Fame Committee and has coached multiple state championship travel basketball teams. Also being honored on the Wall of Honor is Mark Henry, MD, class of 1966. And Dr. Henry has had a distinguished career in emergency medicine. Also being honored is Christine Longo, class of 1994. She has built a decades-long career in financial services and technology and is an active advocate for cancer research. And finally is Catherine Katie Sharkey, MD and PhD, class of 1987. And Dr. Sharkey is a nationally and internationally recognized expert in medicine, psychiatry, and sleep medicine. So tonight we're going to read a resolution, and I'll ask for a vote to approve the resolution for these honorees, who will be honored at a ceremony on April 30th at 6 o'clock in the high school library. This is a resolution from the East Greenwich Town Council, whereas the Wall of Honor Committee was founded in the fall of 2007 by local residents and former alumni as a way to honor and provide a permanent connection between past and future alumni. And whereas the East Greenwich High School Wall of Honor recognizes outstanding East Greenwich High School alumni who have achieved distinction in their lives or chosen field after high school through significant contributions to their careers, community, or through personal achievement. And whereas the 2026 inductees of the East Greenwich High School Wall of Honor include Catherine Feeney, Dan Forbes, Dr. Mark Henry, Christine Longo, and Dr. Catherine Sharkey. Whereas the 2026 annual induction ceremony takes place this Thursday, April 30th at the East Greenwich High School Library at 6 p.m. And whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the past and present East Greenwich High School Wall of Honorees, now therefore be it resolved that the Town Council of the Town of East Greenwich does hereby congratulate the 2026 inductees of the East Greenwich High School Wall of Honor. So I'd ask for a motion to approve this resolution.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Item 5 is a proclamation commemorating the 250th anniversary of the American independence with the planting of a Rhode Island state tree, the red maple. So we'll read through the proclamation and then we'll ask for a vote to approve the proclamation. This one is a little longer. The proclamation commemorating the 250th anniversary of American independence with the planting of the Rhode Island state tree, the red maple. Whereas the year 2026 marks the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, a motion that defined the ideals of liberty, equality, and self-government. And whereas Rhode Island 250th Semi-Quincentennial Commission and the East Greenwich 250th Committee joined together to honor this milestone with commemorative events and lasting symbols of liberty, unity, and civic pride. And whereas the red maple, chosen by Rhode Island school children in the 1890s and officially designated as the state tree in 1964, stands as a symbol of resilience, beauty, and enduring spirit of the ocean state. And whereas the planting of a red maple on the grounds of the Varnum House Museum honors the tradition of the Liberty trees of the American Revolution period, which served as gathering points for protests against British rule, as well as places of free expression, civic resolve, and birth of independence. And whereas all soldiers from East Greenwich, including those of African heritage, fought bravely in the American Revolution, carrying the hope of liberty's promise. And whereas this sapling, though young, begins its life now as a living monument, and with proper care, protection, and stewardship, it may serve the community for a century or more, standing as a witness to liberty's enduring promise. And whereas the designated site of this planting, known henceforth as Varnum House Museum, offers a fitting and dignified tribute that unites natural beauty, civic values, and revolutionary spirit with its historic stone wall boundaries and tranquil open space, providing a place of reflection for generations to come. Now, therefore, we, the Town Council of the Town of East Greenwich, do hereby proclaim that May 9th, 2026, in the Town of East Greenwich, in partnership with the Rhode Island 250th Semi-Quincentennial Commission, does hereby dedicate the planting of a Rhode Island state tree, the red maple, on this historic grounds of the Varnum House Museum as part of the official observance of American independence. Let this Liberty tree grow as a beacon of remembrance, unity, and hope for all who shall come to this place, linking the sacrifice of those who came before with the responsibility of all who inherit this legacy. So can I have a motion to approve this proclamation?
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries 4-0. We'll hear a little bit more about the Liberty Tree ceremony from our town clerk in a few minutes. Next part of our agenda is the consent calendar. I'll read through the items. They can be voted on as a group unless one of the councilors would like an item pulled off for separate discussion. We have 6A, minutes from our April 13th, 2026 meeting. 6B, which is an application for flea market permit for Fry Farm. They're having food truck night on May 14th, June 4th, July 2nd, August 6th, September, and also September 3rd at the farm on South County Trail. We also have an application for a flea market permit for the Association of Rhode Island Authors. They're having a book sale on May 9th, the Swift Community Center. 6D is a reappointment of Peter Rogers to the Affordable Housing Commission for a 3-year term to expire in 2029. We interviewed Peter on April 13th. 6E is acceptance of the resignation of Lara Salamano from the Quonset Point Development Corporation as the East Greenwich member on the Board of Directors. This is retroactive to May 14th, 2025. 6F is acceptance of the resignation from Tom Plunkett from the Board of Canvassers. And the last item on the consent calendar is a transitional appointment of Manny Gonzalez from an alternate member to a regular member of the Planning Board for an initial 3-year term to begin May 1st, 2026. Anybody want to have an item removed? If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve the consent calendar in its entirety.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor? Motion carries 4-0. This brings us to reports and presentations. I think, Mr. Nada, you are the first item on the agenda here.
Thanks, Dr. Swager, members of the council. Apologize for not getting the report out earlier. We're just working towards budget completion by the end of the week. So I did actually finish a report, and I'll have Lee forward it to everybody. Fairly basic, provided an additional update from this past week heading into next week regarding various municipal legislation that's being heard at the State House. I think nothing out of the ordinary in this round. This week, there's a lot of education-based bills that are probably worthy of taking a look at. Second item is just wanted to stay in sync with the council regarding our upcoming budget development process. So May 1st is this Friday. So the budget will be presented by me, made available to the council and the community. We're still got a couple of days left ahead of us in terms of formatting and completing some of the narratives that support some of the sections of the budget. I think the guts of the budget are completed in terms of the numbers associated with it. As we've been discussing, and we'll have plenty of opportunity to talk about this at length, but what you're looking at this year is a little bit different than what we have seen in the past. This year so far, prior to the council seeing the budget, we are at the maximum of a 4% tax levy increase, most of that being driven by, as we all know, both school and municipal debt service associated with major projects. In addition to that, we have received approval from the Division of Municipal Finance through the Department of Revenue regarding the maximum allowance that we can exceed the cap, which is just under 2.6 million. So that is debt that our finance director provided to the office. They have validated that and given us permission up to that amount, which would place us without any change in the program at approximately a 6.88% levy increase for this next year. The community did not qualify for any of the other exceptions to the debt service maximum of the 4%. So based upon that, all of the detail associated with the various departments is being finalized as we speak. We're moving into a series of meetings. Our first meeting will be on May 4th. And what we're going to do that evening, it's a special meeting of the council. We're going to double up on two items. The school construction team owes the council a more significant update on the project. So we're going to actually start the meeting on May 4th with that update, with a number of our consultants with us to be able to provide the council with a comprehensive update. They'll be able to answer questions, any other concerns or questions the council may have. And then we'll roll right into the kind of the first budget discussion. And that'll be because you would have just received the budget on May 1st. That'll just be a high-level review of the document, what's in the document, how it's formatted, a high-level look at kind of where we have fallen in terms of overall budget increase, what the cost drivers are, any other significant changes that we have. And as part of the municipal budget also includes the school budget. So that'll also be part of it. From that point, moving forward in the month of May, we have a full council meeting on the 11th, which will also be a budget discussion. And then there'll be something the council needs to contemplate is on May 18th, which is the following Monday. We'll need to determine whether or not you want to hold a budget meeting, or that is the same night as the first hearing of the comprehensive plan public workshop at Swift at 6 o'clock.
What day is that? I'm sorry.
That's on May 18th. So that's the same time. So I really believe, and I'll defer to the council based on how we look at that calendar. If you want to pass on the 18th, for those who want to attend, that they just said they could not, I talked to Al about it, they just couldn't get it booked on another day. So if we want to hold off on that because we view the public session on the comp plan, that first meeting, to be more important, if there are members that want to attend, we can pass on the 18th. We come back on the Tuesday, the 26th, the day after Memorial Day, is a normal council meeting. We'll be back into budget then. And then we also have June 1st, if you need it, a Monday. And then you have June 8th, which is a normal council meeting where hopefully we'll be ready for adoption. So you've got a little bit of flexibility, but if the council wants to go forward on the 18th, we can do that. You don't have to make a decision tonight, but something to think about in the next couple of weeks is depending on where you want to be and spend your time on that, especially on that particular night. In addition to that, Trish Sunderland and I did receive, and I didn't report out at the last meeting, but recently we had another bond rating call, kind of a check-in call. It wasn't a comprehensive call with both Moody's and S&P, but this was a check-in on the 4.225 million that the council just authorized and some various smaller options that we had in terms of debt service. And we went through that. We did receive a report. We maintained with S&P, we're a AA+ rating, unlike in Moody's where we're a AA1. I can just read a couple of the brief comments that they made. And in my report, much more detailed information. And I'll provide a copy of the full report to the council as needed. East Greenwich's creditworthiness is characterized by its affluent growing tax base with predictable property tax revenue and comprehensive long-term planning practices, which have historically supported generally balanced operating results. The town's reserve positions as a percentage of operating expenditures lag behind those of similarly rated peers, and elevated direct debt per capita constrains upward rating movement. With no significant planned reserve uses, we expect reserves to remain at roughly current levels in compliance with the town's reserve policy of 10 to 17% of operating expenditures. They went through a number of other points, but they finished by saying the stable outlook reflects our expectation that East Greenwich will maintain balanced operations over the outlook horizon with reserves at current or higher levels. The downside scenario for them is we could lower the rating if East Greenwich reserves decrease as a percentage of its budget as a result of either budgetary imbalance or an unanticipated drawdown. And the upside scenario says, while unlikely over the outlook horizon, we could raise the rating if East Greenwich reserves materially increased as a result of sustained budgetary surplus and if the town managed long-term liabilities. So overall, a very good vote of confidence. We engaged, we had a nice conversation. I think some of the assistance was also that the reserve fund has been stabilized in the school department as well. The erosion that we had seen over multiple years had stopped, and they're now balancing that reserve similar to how the town manages it. So I think that was also very favorable in terms of S&P's outlook. A number of dates that I just covered, but one other that was noted a little bit earlier tonight is that I understand it's a really busy time of the year for everybody. This Thursday, to advance the Main Street project, we have our first public meeting with consultants at the Swift Community Center at 6 p.m. I also understand you've got is it the Hall of Fame? Wall of Honor, I'm sorry. Same time, same night. So, yeah.
Have the people up here on it.
There you go. Right. So you've got a number of things happening, but we'll have our full consultant team from PAR, and we'll run through a full public engagement process on the very preliminary discussions on the 30% conceptual design. So I would expect on Thursday for them to cover in an open way with no decisions having been made, high-level items like the width of the road, sidewalks, placement of crosswalks, site amenities, lighting, decorative lighting updates, surfacing, sidewalk surfacing. And I think at this point, we're looking to draw as much input and information from not only business, but from the community. And then I think similar to the school construction project, we'll have everything on paper in the design that we would love to see. We will bid that out, and then we will start at value engineering, right? We'll start pulling back, unfortunately. As the council knows, we have awarded from the federal highway as well as state DOT about $6 million. About 1.2 of that is the design, engineering, and project management. So you're a little less than 5 to invest in the project itself. Separate and apart from that, as the council approved the $11.1 million in authorization to borrow for the wastewater division. There are upwards of a couple of $1 million of that 11 that will support the slip lining of the main sewer main on Main Street, separate and apart from the Main Street project, funding wise, as well as probably close to $1.5 million to $2 million in the slip lining and in the approximate 60 laterals that have to be installed. So the excavation of those laterals is going to start, if not this summer, this fall, where they will go down the street and they will just be excavating to each structure, adding in a new lateral or right to the main itself prior to the slip lining occurring.
Yeah,
So that
are the laterals under the sidewalk or under the roadway?
both, yeah. The main is in the middle, so it starts in the middle and it goes all the way to the private building. So we'll bring it to the building, and then if a property owner wants to upgrade within their property, that responsibility will be theirs. Most of them are in their basements, and so much of them, I'm sure many have been updated over time, and so they may be fine, but I think there are many that still carry some of the old clay pipes right into their basement.
No
So
requirement in order to hook up that they modify their system up to an updated system?
that's right.
They can,
Yeah.
that's their call.
They're already hooked up, right? It's just whether they replace their pipe.
That's correct.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering whether the old pipes will fit the new high-tech pipes, you know?
We'll figure all that
We'll
out.
figure it
Yeah.
out.
And Andy, is
Like that one.
the meeting,
Pipe, pipes of pipe. I'm sorry.
that's all right. Is the meeting primarily like looking for priorities, or is it wish list?
I think a
then
little bit,
we'll-
I think a little bit of both.
both?
Yeah, I think we've tried to articulate that the amount of funding that's available, it's a state road, the town is managing the project. That's the arrangement with DOT. So state road, federal designation. So there are requirements that we have to follow. So anything that we ultimately would like to see is all shipped to DOT. They have to run through to ensure compliance with all state road requirements through DOT. They will get back to us if it's approved or not. Then we have to bid out the project itself. I think we'll have alternates available. So I think it's a little bit of all of that. So I think we'll hear from people regarding, I'm sure, the electric lines,
Yes,
right?
that's
So
what-
I think that'll be part of it. And there's no question that I don't think we want to fund the engineering of that project, but I think to estimate through Rhode Island Energy, kind of what that cost would be, will be part of that package. And we're hoping as the design package is developed, we'll be able to learn a little bit more about the consolidation option of consolidating lines, cleaning up the look and tightening things up versus the in-ground installation. The fear that we have, Karen, with the in-ground is that we expect that to add a minimum of a year to the project. They will have to excavate, all those utilities are mostly in the sidewalks. So they will excavate those sidewalks, they'll have to install conduit, and then eventually you're gonna have to pull the conduit, you're gonna have to tie into every single building separately along this whole street. I think it will add at least a year more to the project besides the cost of going in ground. So I think that's the scare factor. We're unclear right now whether or not the 6 million is going to cover the things we want to do, which are widening some of our sidewalks, repaving the road, enhancing our sidewalks with a nicer finish, adding all of the electric utilities in the sidewalks for our lighting. So we hope to have all new electric lines for all our decorative lighting, as well as outlets at every tree and every decorative line, which will allow lighting, right? Beautiful lighting plan for our summer months and our winter months. You'll have decorative lights that hopefully are add a little more illumination on our side. It's a dark street at night when you leave, even with all the lights on. So to add a little bit more safety in terms of lighting. I think the other main thing is crosswalk locations. Whether or not we're comfortable with bump outs in those areas to have you now cross only 2 lanes versus crossing 4 lanes. And that scares people as well. So I think there'll be some robust discussion. But what we're eliminating is this is a state project, so we cannot submit a plan that doesn't conform to state regulation. So state regulation is you are 20 feet away from a crosswalk on each side, 20 feet. So right now, they cross 4 lanes, and so you can illegally park right up to a crosswalk. So if you add the bump outs, you can't illegally cross. You can add pedestrian safety, but also make it crossing only 2 lanes versus 4 lanes. So I think the design of the crosswalks, the materials, clearly we want to hear from people. I met with the tree committee recently. On our agenda was to talk about Main Street and to start to think regarding any input they'd like to provide regarding the landscape on Main Street. So we talked about the trees we have now are slowly suffering. So they're really all going to be removed, and you'll see a new planting on Main Street, both in ground and also above ground. You'll see above ground proposals regarding large scale planters, either wood-based or ceramic, but large scale. So you could have a 6 to 8 foot tall tree in a planter that's movable, that in the winter months, we may come in and just pick those up and remove them and protect them for the winter, open up the sidewalks for clearing of snow and everything, and then bring them back in the spring. So some of our sidewalks are tight, so we might want to add some shrubs or plantings above ground in a more conducive than to some of the narrow sidewalks trying to create a planting area.
But plus it ruins the sidewalk as
Yeah.
somebody who spends a lot of time in Brooklyn.
So we're hoping for input on all of those factors. We want to kind of better understand what the community's vision is for Main Street. And then we can go forward, and our decorative poles will all be equipped for hanging flowers like we do now, and hanging banners and all of those types of things. But it's important that you get one bite at this apple, and then you're locked in for like 30 to 40 years. So I think it's really important that community members come forward. And it's not just Thursday, right? So that's the first meeting, but there'll be several of those over the year for the rest of 2026. We hope to be able to complete the design by the end of 26 and bid out the project going into early 27. And then we'll talk about timeline. So everyone's interested to know how long is it going to take? How disruptive is it going to be? So we really would love to start construction in the fall of 2027 and hopefully finish the majority of the street work and the sidewalk work by this late spring of 27 prior to summer and get as much of the site amenities and lighting in place. Worst case, we can finish lighting, which, because all the hardware will be installed, all the pedestals will be there, all the in-ground conduits done. We'll just be installing fixtures at that point or installing trees. So we hope to be able to do that by the spring. We're trying to avoid both summers, summer 26, summer 27, and get into that, finish up in the spring of 28. So
And we're, most,
Construction project overlap with the other things we have going?
they all overlap, Mike, yes.
Imagine that.
Everything overlaps.
We're gonna have it all.
All, it's just how it happens. You've got Scallop Town Park's gonna start hopefully within the year. You can go on.
Yeah.
Swift
The
is
entire
finished.
state of Rhode Island is
Yeah.
under construction.
That's right, pretty much.
and Andy, are we coordinating with the parking study? Because that seems like that
Yeah.
we should do
Yeah,
that.
so
too.
we're due, we don't have a date, but we are due to bring the consultant back. We delayed it and Main Street kind of snuck in ahead of that, but we have 2 more public sessions led by our consultant on the parking study. So we're planning for that as well. So the question's going to be is, some of those will probably take place this spring and early summer. And then we'll have to determine if we want to hold off until like September to finish those meetings. We don't want to miss people who are maybe enjoying the summer season and not able to attend those last meetings. So yes, we do have to schedule it.
And you
I-
th-
I do have a question. Somebody asked if any of these will be recorded so they could watch after, somebody who's not going to be
Yep.
able, so they will be
Yeah,
available.
yeah, if they're held here or at Swift, we can record them.
Okay,
So,
yeah,
yep.
so I just had a question about that. And then I just have so it would be after, so it would be the fall of 27, because I know we have the 350th.
No, we have a,
And I know that that's the thing. And so I just want to make sure
Yeah.
we're planning to end at the fall of 27.
yeah. So until we hire a company, a construction company to do the
So
work,
it's just, yeah.
we'll determine how we're going to phase it. Whether it's we work on one side of the street or whether we start at one end and we come a quarter of the way and we're dealing with both sidewalks and curbs. The street won't get torn up until the end of, that's like the last thing you do. There'll be cuts in it and patches, but it will not be, the asphalt will not be removed. So, but we're hoping to schedule that and then all businesses will remain open. So, but it's going to be, as you know, when sidewalks are being worked on, there's wooden planks that cross sidewalks to allow access. There'll
Yeah.
be a lot of that coordination that has to happen.
No, I get a lot of complaints from older residents, particularly those who use like wheelchairs or walkers or canes, that, that's a big issue. So as long as it's still accessible. Yes, thank you.
Sure thing. The only other thing I wanted to mention is 2 other things. So one, Dr. Swigger, you had asked me, and our consultant was not able to get me all the information, but Mark had asked for an update on our virtual net metering agreement with Amoresco and that project. So if you're comfortable, I think I'll have all the information I need for the next meeting.
Okay.
That project is up and running. The questions were focused really on how do the credits work? What are our expectations in terms of
Andy, could I
recovery?
just stop you there? Andy Tights, I'm recused from all Amresco things. I represent them. When
can
he's
stop
given an
yeah.
update, should I just leave? Just give me a heads up and I can leave.
Finish.
No-
Yeah, I don't, yeah,
If it's in the middle of the update, you should, as you did, make it known publicly.
Yeah.
Okay,
But if it's just receiving update,
Yeah.
if there's any discussion, if any of the other members have questions
Yeah.
about it, then you probably get up. and leave.
yeah, I really don't have any more information tonight, so at the next meeting, there'll be a formal I'll let you know.
okay, just tell me and I'll
I will.
step out. Just
Sounds
'cause
good.
questions will come up.
I
So,
totally
okay.
forgot. Yeah, thanks, Mike. I appreciate that. The other thing, I just wanted to note for the council what was happening on Main Street. I know that you're aware, I provided the council with an update, but the fire department received a call from a resident who heard significant cracking, as they described it, across the street from 173 Main Street. So upon further inspection, the exterior brick facade of the building on the southerly side was starting to give way. It's a building that was built in the late 1800s, so clearly back then they were not tying in a masonry facade to the building. It was built in a particular way, but there was significant bowing, and so there was major concern, safety concern. So they cleared the parking lot, they cleared the building. They cleared the building adjacent to that location on the side where the collapse was anticipated. Our building officials' office was involved. Our fire department was involved. Our EMA representatives were involved. I would like to thank the Warwick Fire Department that also has a special structural collapse team. They were the ones that were positioned directly out in front of Town Hall when you came tonight to the meeting. And they also have a drone unit that was able to go up and assess the situation as well. So West Warwick and North Kingstown Fire Departments backfilled our stations for that. You know, there was a lot of people milling around, but the owner, it's a condominium association of ownership of the building. So they were contacted before I left the site. Their insurer was on site. So there's coordination happening. Because they were not able to act fast enough, the town is involved through our building department and public works, and we secured a company to come. They arrived with a dumpster before the meeting tonight, so I'm assuming they have already started, if they're not finished, in terms of taking down that brick facade on part of the building, just to ensure the safety of those around. So we're hoping by early this evening, that area can be reopened. Tenants who reside in the building will be able to go back in. Hopefully, it won't carry through the evening, but we're hoping that that wraps up tonight. So there were no injuries. It was caught in time. And the exterior condition looked excellent in terms of the finish. It looks like it had been fixed over time, was incredibly well kept, but it's that old balloon framing with no tie-ins. And it started around two of the large windows. So we believe there must have been some kind of infiltration around the windows that created the gap, and it started to bow. The whole side started to press out. So it was clearly going to collapse, and there was cracks that were forming. So, but we appreciate the engineers that were on site that were called in, both by Warwick and our community. Let me see who else was there.
Can you tell me who pays for that? And
Yeah.
the homeowners, do the building
This
owners?
is
pay?
a homeowner, this is a condo association that.
Yeah,
that
so we
maintains-
will be engaging them, the town through our insurer, will be engaging them and through our council. And so we'll be going through them to pay the bill for that. So the insurer was on site,
Their insurer.
their insurer. Yeah,
Right. We don't insure that.
that's
That's
correct.
just,
Yeah.
and so we just contract in some emergency contractor,
We do.
which is
That's
three
correct.
times the cost because it's emergency.
There's no question. Yeah.
Okay. And I don't really understand the terms you used, but am I imagining a concrete building with just a slapped on facade?
Of brick.
Yeah, that has
Yeah,
now
of brick.
pulled away because,
That's correct. You started
Okay.
to pull out. That's correct. And so it was.
You're
gonna-
an owner of that building, it's just the individual units own that.
Yeah,
condo association. is an entity that
Association,
owns the
so
whole building.
it's all
and
ownership.
They all own
Yeah.
pieces of that.
That's right. Yeah, so normally, like other situations, we're not able to secure ownership. They are ill-equipped, most of them, to act appropriately and have those contacts. So you've got fire marshal, building official, other
Yep.
officials on site that engineers who basically said, you know, this is definitely a life threat situation, safety concern, so it needs to come down. So should not, their initial assessment was that the integrity of the building was intact, the
Okay.
structural integrity, and it was just the masonry facade that was coming down.
That's right, though, Randy, you know, it's one wall of one building in a small town.
Yes.
But the operational complexity that you've described is unbelievable. I mean,
Can be.
you mobilized, so can you just, we have a fairly light schedule, but I just want to see how that unfolds. Like, how does the alarm get sounded? So a neighbor complains, someone on the street complains, and who did they bring that complaint? Who did they bring that
So
complaint?
that
Police
initially was brought
department?
to the fire, well, so actually it came from somebody at the hotel
Mhm.
across the street.
Oh, across the street?
Came to the fire department. They had
Fire department.
yeah, so quick inspection, the red flag goes up. And so they immediately contacted fire marshal.
Call for that.
Yeah. Yeah, immediately contacted the building official. So we had our building official and our building inspector on site.
Mm.
They quickly assessed it. They both, the The DPW director came to see me. I'm working on the budget upstairs. Then I had the building official and the building inspector also come in. We talked through a couple of scenarios, met with both Fred Gomes and Colby Anderson are members of our EMA team. They contacted Rhode Island. There's others too that didn't
You
have to respond.
activate the EME response
They had
team?
to, yeah, they had an incident command set up. They
command
had the
center.
canteen, they had to fire the canteen set up as well
Evidence
for the
taking.
support staff that was here. It's because you don't know how long it's gonna take and you
Yeah.
didn't know at the moment, the extent of what could occur. So if that building came
Mm.
down, clearly that's the catastrophic
Right.
Yeah.
incident we wanted to avoid. But they removed all the vehicles, they emptied the building, both buildings, because it's in a parking lot where if the wall collapsed, it could have
Was
hit
on
the
the
next
other-
building. Yeah, it's all windows, so so both buildings, and so we contacted the Red Cross if any support was gonna be needed. Fortunately, I think, that's the dire scenario, but I
Oh,
think
Sure.
it happened fairly quickly, and, I think we should feel confident we've got good people in the field who know how to make that process advance.
Don't forget the responsible people in the hotel who thought enough of what's across the street.
That's
to
right.
pick up
Yeah.
the phone and
Yeah.
call.
I
Exactly.
mean, that actually is amazing.
Yeah, and I'm confident that they will take that down and they will repair the building and you'll never know what happened, but it'll be done to today's code. It'll all be tied in. It's just the masonry, hopefully. He said as soon as that comes down, all of the studs will be shown, all the construction methods will be shown. They think it's probably balloon framing, but the thing is, it's a
I'm gonna
three-story.
nod like I know, yeah, a balloon.
It's a three-story building, so it's a lot of brick. I mean, if there are cars, the cars would have been crushed, people would have been killed if it happened while people were there. So fortunately, they weren't there and they caught it in time, so. I know it looked like a lot of a show with a lot of people mingling, but
Yeah,
there were a lot of people called to
it's a
task.
fantastic response. And I think that command center can be used in so many ways. I mean, who would have, we weren't really thinking of this type of operation, emergency. That's great. We need to show off a little bit, I think.
I think we do, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're very close to actually wanting to have a tour and have the council
Mm.
tour both dispatch centers, and you'll be able to see the Emergency Operations Center. Fire department, pretty much the whole new system is finished, PD is finished, so I think we'd love to be able to set that up and give everyone an opportunity as a group, but then, of course, you can go individually and see it as well. I'm sure the staff would be thrilled to show you through and show you the new technology that we have in place.
Excellent.
That's all. I'm happy to respond to any other concerns or questions the council has, but that's all I have to report this evening.
I don't have any other questions. Any other council members? We do have another report from our town clerk, Lee Carney, 7B, update on the 250 events, Rhode Island 250.
Yes, thank you. A couple of awesome events to give you a little bit of information about. The first one is the ringing of the bells, a little back history here. So as part of the America 250 initiative and in collaboration with the state's RI 250 Commission and the Historical Preservation and Heritage Commission, an event is planned for Monday, May 4th in Providence called the Rhode Island Independence Day Open House. This event takes place at the Old State House on Benefit Street, and the doors to this historic building will be open for the first time in almost 2 years. The Old State House, which was built in 1762, was one of 5 seats in government in colonial Rhode Island, and it is where, on May 4th, 1776, the General Assembly voted to separate from the British Crown. This was also known as the Act of Renunciation, an important symbol of independence in the colonies, and made Rhode Island a forerunner of the Revolutionary movement. In 1750, the General Assembly ordered that Kent County be set off from Providence County, designating East Greenwich as the county seat. On this very site, a 2-story wooden structure with a central belfry atop the roof was constructed at the expense of the county's citizens. It was the practice of the General Assembly to hold its sessions in each of the 5 counties, visiting each one in turn. The other 3 original state houses are located in Bristol, Kingston, also known as South Kingstown, and Newport. So as part of the ongoing celebrations honoring Rhode Island's independence, East Greenwich was invited to join in on a coordinated effort to ring the bells in all 5 original state houses at the same time. Yours truly will have the honor of ringing the bell in the cupola here at Town Hall on May 4th at 4 p.m. for 1 full minute. This harmonious symbol of unity is a great way to commemorate Rhode Island's Independence Day, and East Greenwich is proud to support the state's 250th celebration. Or anybody is welcome to join me up in the cupola.
Can't think of a better person to ring the bell. I can't think of a better person to ring the bell.
Just got to remember to.
You have to,
Right.
you have to climb up into the cupola.
Have you been?
I've been up there.
Okay.
Yeah. Bill Sequino took me
Oh, yeah.
on a tour there.
Cool. The next is, you
Andy's never offered the other council special.
didn't ask the right person.
I went and saw it. It's very narrow.
Not good.
The ones here?
What?
It's up here.
Yeah, we went there.
Yeah, all the way up.
Yeah, it's
It's
cool.
Peter, isn't it like that?
May 4th, we should.
I'll go up there.
Good. I feel like Renew wants to ring. I just want, she's going to take it. I just want you to know,
A
Lee.
minute's a long time. I might
Might
need
be
some
a
help.
little protective.
Really, no more. You're all welcome.
Fabulous.
The Liberty Tree planting now is on Saturday, May 9th at 2 o'clock. And as President Schwager mentioned in the proclamation commemorating the 250th anniversary of American independence, a red maple sapling will be planted on the grounds of the Varnum House as a living reminder of Rhode Island's contribution to liberty and democracy. The formal ceremonial program will include some remarks by Secretary of State Greg Amore, local elected officials, and hopefully the recitation of a poem by the winner of the pop-up poetry contest, as well as the requisite pomp and circumstance. This is a community event and all are welcome. My update.
Yeah.
Any questions for the clerk? Not, we'll move on to public comment. Do we have any participants online?
Oh, there's nobody.
There's 2 participants.
Nobody has their hand raised, though.
Come on.
There is no public comment. Then we will
Please.
ask for council comments.
I want to say a big thank you to everybody who showed up for Earth Day. It was a big success. I picked up a lot of trash myself. They filled a dump truck worth of grossness. So I would love to see higher litter fees. If we're going to do our fee schedule over, I want litter fees to go up. And there was one other thing I wanted to say, but I can't recall. So sorry.
Yeah, those little fireball nips,
Yeah. By the way, there's a lot of drunken
Somehow,
driving
they
happening in
get
this town.
everywhere.
Disgusting.
Well, I do want to say I'm sad to have to mention that our oldest town resident,
Oh, yeah.
Bill McClintock, U.S. Navy retired. He died on April 15th at the age of 106. And he just lived an extraordinary life. East Greenwich News printed a really nice obituary for him. And they include the video when we gave him the Boston Post cane. And he took the cane and he said, I will accept the cane, but I don't need it. So let's find someone who could use it. And then he launched into a 4-minute extemporaneous discussion of the history of East Greenwich. It was just fantastic. He received the Boston Post cane as the oldest resident. And now we have to next find his successor. But just a
I'm trying, just a little bit.
just a wonderful guy, larger than life, and has lived an incredible life over the course of the 20th and 21st century. Other comments from the council?
Add to that, if I may, that his celebration of his life
Mhm.
will be held on July 1st at St. Luke's, which would have been his 107th birthday.
Wow,
Wow.
that'd be fun, community event. Because he has family. His son is, I don't know if his son lives in East Greenwich. Does he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's true, actually.
So if there are no other council comments, then we do have some executive session items. I'll ask our clerk to read us into executive session.
Motion to convene into executive session per Rhode Island General Law 42465A, 2 and 5 for the approval of executive session minutes from April 13th, 2026, and for sessions pertaining to discussions or considerations related to the acquisition or lease of real property for public purposes, specifically Bosch Farm, and for sessions pertaining to litigation, case number KC 2025-1228, East Greenwich versus Agricultural Land Lands Preservation Commission.
Thank you, Lee. I'll ask for a vote to reconvene an executive session across the hall.
So
Sec-
moved.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries 4-0. So we will return to the chamber when we can conclude our. Okay, we have concluded our executive session. I'd like to report out the action the council has taken. Item 10A, we did approve the executive session minutes from April 13th, 4-0. Item 10B, no action was taken. I'd like a motion to seal the minutes of the executive session.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Motion to adjourn.
Moved.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries 4-0.